Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with my project level up update. So we have hit 4 new pans in our level 4 palette, which means we are leveling up to level 5. That's really exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time because hitting 5 pans is no joke, especially using all other eyeshadows 5 times each in a certain palette. But we are here for it, and we will be rolling in our fifth palette. Fifth palette? No. A palette for hitting 5 pans as a level 5 palette, and this project is created by Sophie Alexandra here on YouTube. I will link her down below. She's a lovely creator. Please do check her out if you are not familiar with her already. For our level 4 palette, we were working on this Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette, and I'm so excited to show this palette to you because it has a lot of pans. So before we get into the update and all the details, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Rafneet and I make a lot of panning videos. I'm just removing this brush because it was making way too much noise. We have been working on this palette for 2 months. This is the palette that I already had a lot of progress, I would say, especially on shimmers, but I didn't have that much progress on matte eyeshadows. So that's the reason I was focusing on hitting pan on my matte eyeshadows. There was already an eyeshadow from this palette called Antidote that was rolled into my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, and then this palette got rolled in as level 4 palette. So I was not able to work on that matte eyeshadow as a part of this project, but I was working on that eyeshadow to hit pan on as a part of my Pan Those Eyeshadows. In this project, I wanted to hit pan on the remaining 3 mattes because this one has 4 matte eyeshadows. I mean, one of them is kind of satin shade, but I tend to use it the way I would use a matte eyeshadow. So that meant I had to hit pan on one shimmer. And then after rolling this palette into my project level up project, one of the eyeshadows from here got rolled into my Pan Those Eyeshadows project again, which means I was working on hitting 6 pans in total in this palette alone. So 2 of them were from my Pan Those Eyeshadows project and 4 of them belonged to this one. So this is what it has been looking like over past few months. So last update we did not hit any new pans, but still I was working through these eyeshadows every day and we had huge dips, and this is what it is looking like today. So you can see we hit all 4 pans. Do you see it? We hit all 4 pans. I'm so happy about it. I'm over the moon by the fact that we have almost pan in all of these eyeshadows except 3. But let's go over our eyeshadows one by one. So the first one is called Good Karma. And last update I had 13 uses on this eyeshadow, and then I used it 12 more times, but it only took me 7 more uses to hit pan on this eyeshadow since last update. So I hit pan on this eyeshadow after using it 20 times in this project, and then I used it 5 more times to kind of expand it a little bit. So in total I have 25 uses on this eyeshadow from this project alone. And moving on to the next eyeshadow, this is something that already had a pan, and I just hit my 4 uses on this eyeshadow. I might have used it a few more times, but yeah, this is what it looks like today. This eyeshadow was a part of my Pan Those Eyeshadows. I hit pan on this one after using it only 2 times. So I continued using it as a part of this project for getting additional 4 uses, and that also resulted in expanding the pan. And then Tiger's Eye is, I guess, one of my favorite, if not favorite, eyeshadow from this palette. I know it's a favorite of so many people, and for very good reasons. It is a really nice, shimmery, sparkly eyeshadow. I really love it. It is very dimensional. And then Vibes already had a pan. I just had to use it 4 times as a part of this project. And then Antidote was already in Pan Those Eyeshadows project, so I hit pan on this eyeshadow as a part of that project. Then I used it 4 more times as a part of this one. So the first eyeshadow in the second row is called Hexed, and last update I had 12 uses on this one again, and then I hit pan on after using it 12 more times. So in total I hit pan on this one after using it 24 times in this project, and then I used it once more to kind of expand the pan a little bit. It is still tiny, but it has a nice tip. Bloodstone, I hit my 4 uses on this one, and then I also hit my 4 uses on Ojo. I hit pan on Raw Energy after using it 2 more times since last update. So last update I had 5 uses on this one, and then I hit pan on the second use after filming my update. So in total it took me 7 uses to hit pan, and then I used it 3 more times to expand the pan a little. So in total I have 10 uses on Raw Energy. Meditate already had a pan, I think, and I used it 4 times to get my 4 uses. And then Third Eye, I used it a ton as well. Since I was using a more pointed brush with this eyeshadow, it took me around 17 uses in this project to get the pan. So last update I had 12 uses on this eyeshadow, and then I had to use it 9 more times to get the pan. And after hitting the pan I used it 4 more times for a total of 21 uses, and all of those uses have paid off. This is looking so much well loved now, and I really adore looking at all the progress. It brings me so much joy to know that I have truly loved this palette. I was using these 4 eyeshadows in almost all the looks. At least I was using these 3 eyeshadows because they blend like a butter. This one also blends super well. I was so impressed at how easy these mattes blend. Overall, I really didn't feel like I was getting tired of this one. Every time I was using these eyeshadows, I was literally falling in love with this palette more and more. So overall, I really enjoyed this palette. Before rolling this palette into this project, I had only used shimmers from here. I had used these matte eyeshadows a little bit here and there, but I wasn't too familiar with the formula. But now I know how great the formula is even on the mattes. So I am really happy that I have it. With that, I also need your advice, guys. This palette is from Urban Decay, and they are also relaunching their original Naked palette, which I drooled over. I was in school, I was on a very tight budget. I was also not living in Canada at that time, so getting my hands on this palette was not that easy. I would have to pay for shipping, and it just wasn't accessible to me at that point. And when I entered workforce, this palette got discontinued, so I was not able to get it. And then I got into colorful looks. So looking at it now, the color story does not really appeal to me, except a few shades like that are a little bit warmer. Because I know from my past usage data, I prefer warm toned eyeshadows even if they are neutrals. I would like them to be either completely neutral, brown, not cool toned. I can still use like grays or blues, but a cool toned brown, they're just not up my alley. But I really want to get that palette, so I don't know what I should do. If you have used that palette, if you owned it at some point, can you let me know if it has a great formula or the formula is on par with the formulas we have in 2024? Because I really like how these mattes blend in this palette. If those mattes are similar to these ones, I can think of getting that palette. But if it's more on the drier side, a little bit patchier, then I might skip on it. But I do want to get that palette because of its packaging. It brings nostalgic memories back. I mean, I don't really care about the shadows inside, but the outer packaging, I really want it. I wish they sold it separately. I would have totally bought it. But yeah, that's where I need your advice on. And that's all I have for level 4 palette. Let's take a look at some of the looks I did. I mean, most of them are in combination with other eyeshadows, but in most of those looks, I have all of them blended with the mattes in here, and most of the times I have my crease eyeshadow from this palette. So I'll share whatever looks I have with this palette, and then we will talk about our level 5 palette. This time I am not rolling in my level 5 palette, simply because level 5 is going to take a lot of time on my end. And not just that, also I think about the palette that I will be bringing in all the time. I think about creating looks with it, using eyeshadows in there, even when I'm doing something else, which is really crazy. Obsession with a makeup item, it's not that healthy, but I do love that palette. And if you're on my channel for a long time, you probably would have guessed what I'm talking about. If not, I'm talking about this one. ABH Subculture has my heart. I really love this palette. This is something that I got to know about by watching all of those destruction videos on YouTube. Like, people were trying to hit ban on this one. They're like, oh, the eyeshadows are so loosely pressed. And at that point, I did not think of getting it. But Color Story was something that had me on hook, and I always kind of kept an eye on this palette. And then I saw it on Amazon after it was discontinued. So Anastasia Beverly Hills were still selling these palettes from their Amazon shop, and I decided to get it. I decided to give it a shot because I felt like I'm more comfortable with my eyeshadow skills and I can make these eyeshadows work. And I'm so pleased I got them. Even though a few of these eyeshadows are a bit patchy, but I can still make them work. This palette is something that inspires me. If I was not thinking about using it, I would have probably rolled in a palette and I would have worked on that. But I have not used this palette a lot this year. None of the eyeshadows from this palette got rolled into my pan, those eyeshadows. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for me to use it as my level 5 palette. This is a really nice fall palette. It also works great for summer. I just love those khaki, dirty, mustard yellow shades in general. In short, I really like grungy shades, and it has abundance of those ones. Its color story is also very inspiring to me. This one already has 5 pans, and I'm hoping to get 5 more pans. Just makes me so happy to just look at these eyeshadows. So that's how much I love this palette. So hopefully by next update, I might be able to hit pan on this shade called Electric. This has a huge dip because whenever I use eyeshadows that are not in a project to hit pan, I tend to use them evenly, and this has usage throughout. So I think I'm not too far from pan on Electric. Also, I have not used this shade called Roxy a lot, simply because this is a basic standard shade and I have similar shades in my other palettes, so I never really gravitated towards this eyeshadow. So rolling it into this project would also give me a chance to get familiar with Roxy. But all of the other eyeshadows I really like. Destiny, not so much, because it looks kind of khaki in the pan, but it kind of translates as gray on the eyes. However, there's a shade in my Baby Yoda palette that looks on the eyes the way it looks in the pan, and for that reason this is not my favorite eyeshadow from this palette, but everything else I adore. Even this Mercury shade, it's a really nice warm sort of gray. It's not even gray, I wouldn't call it gray, but yeah, I really like the undertone of this one. Let's take a closer look again, and this is what we are starting with, and I am so excited to have it as my level 5 palette and get more usage out of this palette. And that's all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the end. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching my video, wherever in the world you are. I will see you in my next one. Until then, take care. Bye.